Welcome back, everyone. Today, we're going to dive into the world of JavaScript promises. Promises are an essential part of asynchronous programming in JavaScript, allowing us to handle asynchronous operations in a more elegant and structured manner. So, by the end of this tutorial, you'll have a solid understanding of promises and how to use them effectively in your projects. So, let's get started. First, let's define what a promise is. In JavaScript, a promise is an object that represents a value that may not be available yet, but will be resolved at some point in the future. So, a promise can be in one of three status: pending, fulfilled, and rejected. Let's create a simple example of a promise. Imagine we want to fetch some data from an API, but we don't know how long it will take to get the response. Here's how we can do it with promises. Okay, const, for example, fetch data promise equal to new promise. I used a JavaScript snippet pack for define new promise instance, and if you don't know how to use JavaScript snippet pack, you can go to extensions tab and search for JavaScript snippet pack and install this pack. For example, if you want to type this line of code console.log, just press C and L button. And here in our code example, for define new promise, you can just press N plus P button. Okay, in this code, we define a fetch data promise variable which holds a new promise instance. Inside the promise constructor, we pass a function with two parameters: resolve and reject. These are callback functions provided by the promise constructor. Now, we use setTimeout to simulate the asynchronous nature of fetching data from an API. So by hitting the S plus T button, you can use setTimeout. And I can change it to 2 seconds. Const, for example, data equal to an object name, for example, Jack, and age of 20. Then we have to pass data to resolve. Okay, in this case, after a delay of 2 seconds, we resolve the promise with the resolve function, passing the fetch data object. If there was an error, we would reject the promise by calling the reject function with an error object. Now that we have our promise set up, we can handle its resolution or rejection using then. So, fetch data promise dot then data for example console.log fetch data and for catch we can use catch error, console log, error fetching data. Error.message. Okay, let's run the code. As you can see, the output is fetch data, return the object we had it before. So in this part of the code, we change the then method to our promise. This method takes a callback function which will be executed when the promise is resolved successfully. In our case, it will log the fetch data to the console. On the other hand, if the promise gets rejected, the control will jump to the catch method, which also takes a callback function. Here we simply log the error message to the console. Okay, let me show you more example. Imagine we have a constant variable named state equal to true. And let's comment this line. If state equal true, then resolve, we can send true to resolve parameter, else we can pass false to reject parameter. And we have error here. So as you can see, after a delay of 2 seconds, our input would be true. And if I change state to false and then start debugging again, you can see our output would be false. And there you have it. You've just learned the basics of JavaScript promises. They are a powerful tool for managing asynchronous operations and handling the results gracefully. Remember, promises can be changed and you can use async await syntax for even cleaner code. I hope you found this tutorial helpful. If you have any questions or topics you'd like us to cover in future videos, let us know in the comments. Happy coding and see you next time!